So before the ball now, Peter goes with, good old Aunt May, right, to the bank, right? So they sort out this whole foreclosure thing, right?
Who was in this?
Joe McHale
Joe
of the
McHale, right?
Because, yes, the one show that I tune in religiously on
Talk
E!
Soup.
Network was The Soup. Well, Talk Soup, now The Soup,
Talk, right? Yeah, Talk Soup, right? Yeah.
Sorry, I was not a Keeping Up with the Kardashians fan, but I tuned into The Soup every Friday night at 10 p.m. when it was out. That was me, right? But whatever. Yeah, I was shocked this man was in this movie. Like, what? Hey, but he's a bank teller here, right? There's a great bit of direction here, right? So just out of the blue, right after you have that scene, the camera just pans left. And you're just seeing Otto, or you call him Doc Ock for now, right? Standing up, he's in the same bank, right? He just watching his vault, right? And then he just pulls out his arms and he rips it open, right? Also, I could be wrong with this, but I feel like the jacket and the hat that he wears there is very Darkman inspired.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the comic as well, too.
Right.
But I saw a bit of Darkman in it, too, with the jacket and the suit. I could be wrong, right? Yeah. I love just visually where Otto throws the vault door and it smashes right through the table. And you just see Peter and May, just the 40 smash though, just separate them. And it's still on the seats. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on here, right? Again, the VFX ramps up at, from the moment the tentacles activated. All through the rest of the show, it's just VFX glory, right? In my opinion, right? And then we get this great action scene with Spidey, Otto, and Aunt May, right? And I'm not gonna go into full details about it though, right? But what I love about it, two things, right? One, how there's a couple of points where Spidey's unable to shoot his webs, right? But secondly, in terms of how the choreography of the fight is, right? I love that they are on the side of this building, well, the bank, right? And
it's so good.
Playing with that space. It's all about that side of the building. So you see a character fall, they'll rise back up, they'll climb, they'll fight, they'll be on the wall itself, they'll be by the windows, and they'll flip, they'll go up and go down, and they're playing with that space of the side of that building. I love that. Just see the fight choreography in this is amazing. But yeah, the first fight sequence between Doc Ock and Spidey is awesome, right? But the best one is coming up very soon, right? So, and also the music is great in my opinion. I love the music for this, by the way, right? So now for the ball, right? So yeah, Peter doing this thing, taking pictures and whatnot, right? Harry at the bar, getting drunk, still bitching about how he lost. Well, he bitching about how he lost a lot of money thanks to Spider-Man and Otto, right? And then Captain John Jameson show up with MJ at his side, right? So I should mention prior to that, right? So Peter trying to cheer up Harry, right? And boy, you really do feel sorry for Peter at this stage, boy, because Harry slapped the man twice, boy. And I feel that, I feel those slaps.
It's the expression on Peter's face when he gets slapped.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. And then it gets worse when he sees MJ and Captain John together side by side. And that just the face that Tobey Maguire has there, but you feel that disappointment. You really feel sorry for him at this point. Like, it's because and I think what makes it even worse though is somebody that he doesn't even know. Because remember in the first film, MJ started off with Harry, and Harry and Peter was cool, right? But he does not know John, so it's like, wow, this stranger come and take the love of my life from me, John. So yeah, you really do feel sorry for him. I love just the film in general, how it explores Peter Parker, right? So I know this was a criticism back then, right? I kind of felt that way at first, but the more I saw it, I really appreciate it. Yeah, more emphasis on Peter, a lot of dramatic moments, but I think that it works perfectly because it just fleshed out the character. So when the action starts, you care about the characters, you care about what's going on. You're rooting even more for Peter when he's in these situations. I love those moments, right? Speaking of that, though, I know back then and now there will be people who will just roll their eyes at the melodrama, says the whole will they, won't they dynamic between Peter and MJ, right? But I felt like, in this one, it feels tangible, though. It really feels heartfelt, right? I felt like with Spider-Man 3, in comparison, they just sort of double back on it. So, Peter have to break up with MJ again, and, he become this emo asshole and all that kind of stuff, right? And then, oh gosh, Harry hit the head, get amnesia, and then suddenly hook back up with MJ. And he had the balls to call Peter and like, yo, I with MJ? No. I'll never forget seeing that in CC8 by, and the whole audience erupt like, just watching the face like, yo, I have your girl? No.
Yeah,
just brutal, boy.
You don't run real city.
Yeah, boy. But
it's a line in that one way. Go ahead.
The pie.
Yeah. Yes. Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
That pie is the best.
Yeah, but back to part two, right? So, dog, you feel you're just feeling sorry for Peter, and it's not like he's a sad sack. He's some muckwain like that. Like he's
Right.
genuinely heartbroken, right? Yeah, it's the moment where he recite the poem for MG, and MG is like, "Oh no, you didn't show up to the play," and look, and then it's when she go on and talk about how everybody she knows see it. When she says she deadbeat father, even who came to see it, I was like, God punch, boy. Like, wow, boy. Because they set up in the first film, yeah, the father kind of don't give a shit about MG, right? But it's like, even he and all came to see the play, right? Like, when you hear that, I was like, wow, boy. So, in retrospect, people might find that she, too, was very petty and very, not so much petty, but real harsh on Peter because, oh, you missed the play, but is the thought behind it, right? So I understand why she was bitter at him at that time. And to be fair, she kind of apologized to him. We'll get to that moment later on, right?
No, but there's a line that she says there that for me explains how she feels, because she says that, at the end of the day, and I'm paraphrasing here, but at the end of the day, you just become an empty chair.
Right.
Like, of all the people in her life,
that's a great line,
that
by the way. That's a great line. Yeah.
Yeah. So I completely understood like how she was feeling towards him, with him doing the whole punch me, I bleed and all that bullshitness.
Yeah. So afterwards, Peter just had enough. He busts out. He's in the Spidey outfit, and then he can't shoot the webs again. Again, he falls in the middle of an alley. He should be dead, but superhero movie, so moving on. And you get this great callback from the first film where Peter is testing his Spidey powers, right? So he climbs up the building for a bit, but then he slides down, falls in the street. And then he gets short-sighted again because he's trying to read this newspaper, but he can't see it, right? There's a deleted scene which I felt like they should have added somehow in the movie, where Peter goes to this doctor who's at the university, right? And he explains the psychosomatic aspect of that, right? Because I was trying to remember if that was in the theatrical. I was like, no.
That was there, was it?
I don't think so.
I don't have a memory. I don't know. I can't remember.
Because he has a conversation. He has a conversation with a guy in a lab coat who had I think a tie-dye shirt or something. And he's talking to him about in his dream he dreams about his friend being Spider-Man. So unless they did a longer version of that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what I saw, it felt longer, but that's why I assumed it was cut or taken out altogether, right?
Right.
But yeah. So he's pretty much saying, maybe you should just stop being Spider-Man because you're just worried about too much, right? And this is where you see Peter about to make the vow to stop becoming Spider-Man, right? And the vow is so epic. You have thunder lightning outside, right?
It's a famous comic book panel too.
Oh yes, which you'll get to, right?
Yeah, that famous comic book panel, yeah.
There's a great moment that I love though, where he imagines himself sitting with Uncle Ben, right? In the car, right? Like, if you remember, in the first film they had the argument there, and then afterwards that's when Ben got shot and died, right? And I love here where Ben brings back the whole, with great power comes great responsibility. But Peter's like, he just wants a life of his own. He doesn't want to be governed by that rule now, you know what I mean? And Ben says, take my hand. And Peter's like, no, I'm just Peter Parker.
Damn.
I'm Spider-Man, no more. I love the performance for this, right? And to the panel now, you get that shot where where Peter's walking out to the alley and his spider suit is in the trash can. Just literal shot for shot from the comic book panel. It's such a great scene, though. I love that scene. Yeah. And then we get a scene that I know Tracy, you weren't really a fan of. The raindrops keep falling on my head scene. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I kind of love this scene, right? This is where Peter just going up, trying to live a normal life, even though there's crime and all this stuff going on, right? There's a moment where you see like
sandwich. Exactly. The hot dog stuck in his face with a whole hot dog.
Yeah, he just takes this large bite of the hot dog, right? So what made the scene weird to me when I saw it, right? When I first saw it, was not just because they use a song from a classic Western, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid masterpiece, right? Is the kind of pseudo 70s, 80s music video style of thing. So like you have of Peter getting back up you have like, you know, 3 images, reflections of him in the same shot, and then of course the freeze frame of him with his goofy smile on his face.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that.
it's straight up a 70s sitcom, right?
Yes. Like the first time I see that, I was like, wait, what is it?
It does.
But yeah, when you really think about it, it is a sitcom intro. The only thing that's missing is just title cards, right? Like just the names of people. And
all right, so shout out.
When you see the freeze frame, you could just put created by. You know what I mean? That's the shot.
Right.
Created by. That's it.
All right, so shout out to Double Toasted, right? One of the creators with Double Toasted, Martin Thomas, notoriously hates this film. Yeah, don't like.
Really?
I remember he defends Tree. He defended Tree.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't like this one. Don't like this one at all.
Wow.
And he's explained why. But so is a big part of the movie was the whole the fighting and the little small things about it. But this part in particular, he went on. I remember.
Oh, I'm not surprised. But yeah, I know that threw off a lot of people. It threw me off when I first saw it. But over the years, I really, really enjoyed it though. It's just like a quirky little montage to show, okay, this is what normal looks like for a guy like Peter Parker, right?
Right.
But yeah, I know Tracy, like I think you said you wasn't a fan of this scene neither, but yeah, are you or not?
No, I'm kind of at a point now where it's like, you know, the Beatles song "Let It Be," but
right.
That whole thing for me was like that was the. So in the first film, he tells the owner of the fighting area, that's not my problem. I fail to see how that's my problem.
Right.
And then in this second one, the action sort of portrays it. So he's there, just with the whole thing of like watching the cars swing by and everything of the sort, eating his very large hot dog as two police sirens go floating by. It's a heights. But I think I've reached a point where I just like, okay, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand the context in which it is. Okay, he has given up the ghost and he is about his whole life and everything like that. Now he's like his normal life and all of that. But yeah.
So Harry has an awakening of his own too, right? And he's even thunder and lightning at this point. I find that really hilarious, right? Yeah, so Doc Ock shows up to Harry's home because he wants more tritium now to complete his fusion reactor, right? So in return, Ock has to bring Spider-Man alive, right? Well, bring him to Harry alive, right? But the only way Harry knows to get at Spider-Man is through Peter, right? So Ock goes after Peter, right? And this to me is the first true villainous thing that we see Harry do so far, right? And this is technically the beginning of his transition into Green Goblin 2, which they really butcher in Spider-Man 3, right? But whatever. Later on, we get this great speech from Aunt Jane where she subconsciously reminds Peter, yeah, why the city needs Spider-Man, right? Is the idea that there's a hero in all of us, and it's really like a hero shows what humanity is capable of, right? But the trade-off is the sacrifice that hero must be ready to face, right? Even their dreams. And I couldn't help but think of the Dark Knight, though, in terms of that, right? Yeah, which I felt explored that self-sacrificing aspect of the hero. Yeah, perfectly in my opinion, right? Of course, you have the line, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain, right? Just how they explored that idea, the whole sacrifice aspect of the hero, right? I felt that film did it so well, right? And yeah, that speech pretty much inspires Peter to revive, to try to kickstart his Spidey powers, right? So similar to the scene in the first movie where he tries swinging for the first time, right, on a roof. Yeah, Peter goes on another roof and he tries to jump from one roof to another, right? And I love that they hear the Spider-Man team during this scene, right? So it's like almost like a return to form. The line that Peter says, "Strong focus on what I want," that's related to what the doctor told him. The doctor told him, have a strong focus on what you want, right? And yeah, I love like he does the jump and he yells, I'm back. And then he misses that mark, he falls, and he falls hard now on top of this parked car, right? And what was the whole criticism I was saying about the whole back thing, I love that at this point he does, my back. Yes, because he doesn't have his powers fully back as yet, right? So yeah, he is finally feeling that pain. That whole talk about, oh, you fall twice and you could have died. In this case, like, oh, you're feeling that pain now, right? So I love that, right? So going to what Ricardo said with the teaser trailer, right? This for me is the most visually impactful scene in this movie. Not the best sequence, but that's the most visually impactful, right? This is the coffee shop scene, right? So MG invites Peter for a little chat, right? And this is where she starts off with apologizing for how she was talking down to Peter at the bar, right? But then afterwards, is Peter kind of just saying, what I really think, I really don't want to, like he wants to be on the defense. He doesn't want MG to be in his life because he fears for her life, right? So in terms of just the execution of the scene, right, just the blocking of it, right, I love that every time it cuts back to Peter, you're just seeing traffic, either seeing cars passing, right? You're not really thinking about it. Okay, let's invest in the scene. You're seeing cars passing all the time, right? Every time you cut back to Peter, right? And then, Peter's just pretty much seeing why he can't be there for her, right? So she asks him if he loves her, and he says no. And then, she asks him to kiss her, right? So the idea is to confirm if Peter was Spider-Man, the whole kiss in the rain scene from the first one, because she does it prior with her fiance, right? She does that whole, upside down kiss thing, right? She does that. So the idea is that, kiss me one more time and I'll know for sure if you are Spider-Man, right? As they reach close to kiss, right? Pete's Spidey sense kicks off for the first time we see this in the movie, right? And then, boom, you see this black car crash through the window, and it's just a slow-mo of him grabbing MG and they flip it, and they rotate in the air while the car rotates in the air. Every time I see it, my jaw drops. I just love that it's just this explosion, boom, you know what I mean? And boy, the sound design, though, holy shit. I love that scene. I love that scene, yeah. And yes, like you, Ricardo, when I saw that in the teaser trailer, that gave me so hyped, though. But every time I see any movie, boy, jaw drop, is amazing, amazing.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing with this. Quick question. Doc Ock, do this for what, though? Why Trucker to kill Peter?
Here's the thing, At this point in time,
you don't care, though.
Doc Ock is a real asshole, like.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that, right?
He's a real asshole, boy.
What he threw it at who? Because the idea was to tell Peter Parker to get Spider-Man, but like, wait, did he expect? I thought it was that he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man, but like, no, he doesn't. So like,
no,
well, he's just planning to kill Peter and not have him want Spider-Man. I don't understand the logic of the scene, but it's a badass.
He's trying to get his attention.
Yeah,
but badass.
It is. Yeah. But again, Doc Ock is just an asshole at this point, right?
Right.
So I'll tell you what. So he finds Peter, right? Clearly, right? I like that the show didn't even tell you that he was tracking Peter. It's like, oh, he just happened to find him through a car, boom, right? Whatever, right? He kidnaps MG and tells Peter, oh, you better get Spider-Man at this tower at 3 o'clock or else he'll peel the flesh off our bones, right? And there's a great bit where Peter runs outside, he has his glasses on, he can't see properly. When he takes it off, he could see clearly, right? So he's getting his powers back, and because he has that strong focus, right? I love how he gets back the suit, because earlier on...
woman.
Yeah, earlier on, this garbage man, gave...
right. This is funny, yeah?
I gave Jonah it back, right? So I love that this is...
So quick question, this was cut and put in a director's cut as well? I think so.
I think they trim it in that one.
Right.
There's also a deleted scene where you saw Jonah with the suit playing with it.
Right.
I think that was...
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I don't remember that in theaters at all, of him messing around with trying to have extra content. Yeah. They cut that, right? Okay.
Yeah, but Jonah, boy, OG, right? The man talk about, oh, I drove Spider-Man away, and
right.
now my daughter-in-law is kidnapped. What do I do? All that kind of stuff. And then, Pete steals the suit. He leave a note. Your friend neighbor Spider-Man is like, that damn menace! I want Spider-Man. I love it. Also, a little minor nitpick. So out of the blue, they just decide, okay, we're just gonna print this Spidey's back. Just
right.
Out of the
great.
Blue.
I love it.
When did this happen? But I get it. It's a transitional.
Right,
scene,
great,
whatever, right?
Great transitional scene. Go wait, Spider-Man swings out of it and after that, right?
Yeah. So visually it looks great, right? But you tell them they had the time to put this out, like,
right.
What anyway, again, minor nitpick, right? So yeah, Spidey swings in, and dude, the second fight they have is so badass, and they really top things off, right?
Yes.
We get, in my opinion, the best fight sequence in the Spider-Man trilogy, one of the best fight sequences in a superhero movie.
To this day, this is still top 5 action sequences for me in a comic book movie. You know?
Yes.
To this day, to this day.
I am watching this. I literally watched this yesterday in preparation for this, and chills.
Yeah. No, I'll say between like the MCU have a lot of great action sequences. I ain't saying no, but it didn't have it just what this have in terms of just the action and then the emotions at the ending, Judd.
Yes, boy,
this is a classic. This totally make up for part 1.
Yeah, but this sequence alone is why that movie won an Oscar, you know, boy.
Yeah.
The choreography of it, though, with the characters on top of the train. There's a moment where they are on side of the train fight, and I'm like, oh my god, boy, wow.
That is great part where I think he throws him, and then Spidey like puts his body in a sloot form and fit through the bridge, and then come back.
Yes. And
again, people run that pick this out when the train that are fast and how all that bullshit. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. That's a superhero movie.
Rule of cool, right? Bro.
That's what it is, right?
It was the emotion.
It's hard. Yeah, the what?
Whoever storyboard this, though, deserve like an award, but just to frame these shots. Oh my god, that's the thought and effort put into the scene alone, right? And it gets even better now when Doc Ock, again, just being an asshole at this point, rip all the gears, the train now, so they can't stop it now, right? So no way for this train to slow down now, right? So Spidey now, so I love how early on there's a moment where his mask gets burned off a little bit and then he takes it off, right? So you're seeing Peter in all of this, right? And it's how, again, going back to self-sacrifice, right? He's coming up with ideas of how to slow this thing down, right? And then it reaches a point where he just uses all these multiple webs and he's using his body to kind of like, to kind of slow things down as well too, right? And you see the pain in Peter's face, right? So by point, the train stops, he almost falls, and then somebody pulls him inside, right? And
that is a classic moment.
That shot with the people like
carried him over.
It's
very Messiah, the Messiah.
Right? Yeah. That might work. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, Montes.
Okay, there's a funny part here. When it's like, he's just a kid. Like,
older than my son.
Yeah, no older than my son.
No older than my son. It's like, Tobey Maguire is a big hardback man at this point.
I know.
But no, it's still a good scene though. It's still a great scene. I absolutely love this scene. This to this day, this is still in my top 5 action sequences of all comic book movies. Like to this day.
Yeah.
MCU
holds up.
Have their moments, I ain't saying no, but boy, this is just hold it dread. Like, is this a couple of one scene from Iron Man 3, like the plane scene, the Captain America street fight, of course from Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Endgame, even though Endgame is just a big noisy mess, but Endgame, okay, I don't give Endgame it. But yeah, this one right there, it up there in terms of like just really great like emotional action sequence. It come together again. People nitpick it because if Spider-Man punched Doc Ock directly, he can knock him out immediately or that kind of bullshit. No, don't care about that.
Yeah. But
don't care about
the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the thing that I realized about like 2000s, early 2000s movies, the first 2 Spider-Man, the first Fantastic Four, that kind of thing, is that the city itself was heroic. So it was part of the heroic thing. So because like in the first one, there's the people and the Rastaman, and it's like, I got something for your ass, and he's pelting stuff at the Green Goblin because they're helping Spider-Man.
That's clearly 9/11 thing too, like New York rah kick-ass moment.
But But my heights for me is like I watched, and it's only now that you guys are talking about it that it dawns on me that like I watch the MCU films, and yes, the heroes are there in New York, but New York is no longer like the city of itself, wherever they are.
They're not
heroic heroic anymore.
And
you watch
New York,
Fantastic Four, and you get that.
It's New York. It has to be a character. Like it's friggin' New York.
Right. So this might be a stretcher because the end of the Avengers, they weren't part of it. Kind of. I mean, they have a couple of cut scenes with people with Captain America. I know they cut a bunch of stuff with Captain America and that waitress or whatever it is, right? But Yeah, they just felt receptive to the situation, not part of it, because they couldn't fight back. But like you would have think, oh well, we should see police officers or the amount of guns people own in the United States, like try to like fight back. Little small things like that I felt. Like look, it's New York, but New York, it's a lot of people with guns in goddamn New York, right? Little small things like that. I felt, if you're just gonna do these little small things up, I don't know. They just, it's postscript stuff, right? It's after the fact stuff. But you're right. You're correct about that. Like you would have think that they'd make the city part of it a little more. But I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So again, Doc Ock, like an asshole, had to interrupt now. The really emotional moment, right? Yeah, dude, just show back up now for Peter, right? Because remember the idea is that he's supposed to bring Spider-Man alive.
Right, everybody sat up to him. Is that great?
Yeah, I like how the pastors just show up like, oh, you had to go through them, and he's like, very well. Oh, and he literally pats them like the Red Sea. Again, just being an asshole, boy. Wow.
This voice actor is in this, Green Lantern.
Philomar,
yes.
Yeah. I noticed like, what, you in this too? What?
Right. Yeah.
And then now, well, Ock smacks Peter in the face with one of the tentacles, and that knocks him all cool, right? So back at Harry's crib now, where there's still thunder and lightning outside, minor nitpick. Ock brings the body to Spider-Man, right? And then Ock collects the tritium and leaves, right? And then we get another moment that was advertising trailers. Harry gearing up to unmask Spider-Man and see who.
Right. Quick nitpick. Where you got the mask from?
That's a good point. I mean, come on, like you're telling me.
I have never thought about that.
That Ock decided, hey, you know what? Let me just put back.
Right. Yeah.
No wait. Actually.
No, he does.
No. One of the kids found the mask.
Okay, they found the mask.
And that's the one who said, I won't tell anybody.
Okay, right.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I love that Harry picks this eloquent looking knife, so it's very Shakespearean, like almost like he's going to stab Julius Caesar or something like that, right? Yeah. And this is what you're gonna use to see who the masked man really is, right? So yeah, of course, when Harry sees this, is Peter's like, holy shit, you, right?
Right.
Even though it's a short conversation, I love how tense it is, right? Because Harry still wants to avenge his father, right? But Pete says, look, I'll kidnap MJ, right? And the device he's using could destroy, again, half of New York, right? So I love Pete's response where he says, there are bigger things happening here than me and you.
Right.
I love that. Simple, to the point. That's it. Calm your shit. Let me just do what I have to do, right? So wrapping things up, right? So Spider-Man arrives at Doc Ock's new lab, where MJ is still being held captive. Spidey and Ock duke it off for the last time. And, of course, the fusion reaction, increases in size again, right? And then while finally realizing the error of his ways, finally because he was just being an asshole at this point, Doc Ock is like, you know what, here's what, right? This fusion thing is getting out of control, I have to stop it, right? So I love that he finally takes control of the arms itself, right? Yes. And to me, that explains why he was able to move on his own, so to speak, in No Way Home. Remember, he was controlling the arms then, right? And yeah, he takes the source, the energy source, and throws it into the river, right? And then the process, he goes down with it and he dies as well, right? So I love.
So there's a great moment where when he finds out who Spider-Man is, and he says Peter Parker, brilliant but lazy.
Yeah, brilliant but lazy. I love that. Yeah, because that's what Kurt Connors
tell him, right? You should say, yeah.
I love that. That's a great line, right? But yeah, we get Doc Ock's last line in quotes. Well, technically it's not his last line because thanks to No Way Home, he didn't really die.
Right. That bullshit,
so it was weird, right? I will not die a monster.
Right.
And when you really think about it, that's the Frankenstein thing. He is Victor Frankenstein and now Frankenstein monster. I love that, right? And yeah, at this point in time, because Spidey has his mask off, yeah, MJ see that, Spidey's Peter as well, right? So going back to what we said with Batman, right? Where, before the third act, the love interest see who the hero is. In this case, it's near the end of the third act. It's like, oh, this is who he is, right? And I get like this nice heartfelt moment between the two, you know what I mean? But then I love how Peter's like, that's why we can never beat, because Spider-Man will always have enemies. And I will always be Spider-Man. I love that. Just so poetic, right? He runs off and, Captain John shows up just in time and, hugs her and all that, right? So then we get this extended outro of sorts, right? So Harry now, he's being told by the spirit of his dad. So basically, it's all in his head, right? But basically, it's an excuse to bring in Willem Dafoe back, right? Yeah, basically to avenge me. Like this is where you
I forget
really
what the
say avenge me. You know.
I forget what the butler told him. Something about the dad or the dad was the problem.
Like his dad used to your dad used to obsess too much or work too much, something like that.
Right.
Something along that line, yeah. And yeah, I like that in the process, Harry takes the knife, throws it at this mirror, and that's where he sees just basically this room where all the Green Goblin tech was there. And that's, of course, is the setup for part 3, which, of course, they squander, but whatever, right? MJ, now she takes a page from The Graduate, if you know, you know.
Right.
And yeah, basically run out to the wedding, right? Yeah. And for me, agree to disagree, Tracy, the shot of her running in a wedding dress, I believe it's in Central Park or something like that.
Yeah,
you see, like,
great.
fountain, right?
Oh, we didn't talk about I don't know if you're messing, but we talk about the probably most memeable character, Red Guy. And the girl with the cookies or the cake, I forget what she is.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
For them, man. That was these two little side characters, and everybody used to say she's a better girl for Peter than MJ.
Yeah, they're great.
Rent, like, the Rent daughter?
The Rent guy, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
He just being shut up with Rent, and it is. But no, I think he's more relevant to the third because of the part where Peter Melton got him because he had the black suit already and blah blah blah.
Yes, I remember that.
Well, I feel like
I actually thought like that girl was kind of pretty though. You know what I mean? Like very slender, but you know it's like she's secretly like deep down like crushing on him though. Like know, invite him for chocolate cake and milk for God's sake, right?
That
man. Go with her, man. I mean, I don't know.
See, you talk about friend zone and that kind of stuff because she knew how he felt about MJ, but she just she knows she was never gonna have a chance, but she's still
right.
I just have a nice smile about her though, but whatever. Yeah. Right? But it's just the shot of MJ running through Central Park, whatever it is. Every time I see those, reminds me like it's something lifted from some 90s rom-com, like the end of some rom-com with like Julia Roberts or Hugh Grant or whatever it is.
Yep.
You have that kind of scene.
Runaway Bride.
It works.
Julia Roberts especially.
Runaway Bride.
Yeah, but it works. But in defense of MJ, in defense of MJ, she did leave a note for John though. She left a note. It wasn't like she just
she's polite.
She left a note. So I mean, right? Anyway.
So that makes everything okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that MJ she just runs into Peter's apartment. Although it would have been interesting to see her run past that same Russian girl. That would have been interesting though.
That would have been brutal though.
That would have been brutal. She would have been like, oh, man, and she ran back inside when she played a kid.
Yeah, that's twisting the knife though.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I love that Peter is just sitting on his bed, just sad AF. He just like sad, and she's right outside there, right?
That has a good line right here.
Yeah,
right.
And I love like her decision making here. It's just like she just telling Peter, oh, you're just thinking that I shouldn't be there for you because of the risk. It's like, look, let me just make my own decisions now. And she says, look, I really want to be with you. And yeah, like it makes sense. You know what I mean? The kiss and so triumphant and all that kind of stuff. But then you hear like police sirens, and then MJ drop the line, "Go get him, Tiger."
Right.
And then then we get the second to last shot, right? Which is basically a repeat of the final shot in the last film, right? But with a bit more detail.
I feel like one of the things about this film that kind of leads directly into some of my frustrations with 3 is that I have a real problem in superhero media where a lot, especially superhero movies, where there seems to be a genuine discomfort with having superheroes in committed relationships. Like we were talking earlier about Batgirls, right? And how we never have Batman with any kind of woman for more than 2 films together. And how when you stop and think about it, it really is absurd that the whole Tony Stark, Pepper Potts thing is drawn out throughout, 30 MCU movies when you look at the full timeline about how like they keep doing, will they, won't they? And so like I really appreciate that you have a whole arc in this movie about like a character who's going, oh, I have this woman, I am madly in love with her, but I don't want her in my life because I love her so much I want to put her in danger. And then she finds out and is like, no, I do want to be with you. And there's and then even the image of the supportive partner and having this be like a really interesting paradigm for a superhero. Which is why, of course, it's really frustrating that the third film finds ways to undo it and kind of make convoluted relational drama. And then, oh no, now they're kind of back in single space and they have to kind of get back together again.
Yeah. So this gets into by far one of the most controversial things in all of Spider-Man fandom. If not the most controversial thing in all of Spider-Man fandom. One More Day. You know what that is?
Oh, the most.
The most.
Boy.
Here's the thing, though. I can't believe I defended this. It is kind of understandable why they did it. Kind of.
Why?
Right.
Because they kind of just say, look, once you have Peter married, it's hard to write stories in a way. Look, it's a shitty thing, and you could get into this big debate about single men and thing, yeah? But you can't be locking on Peter. That is basically the logic.
Give me...
Because these writers, I'll admit, they really have a good imagination to do something like that, right? So I get why they did it. That is more... I'm slightly sympathetic towards it.
Give me middle-aged wife guy Peter Parker.
Well, here's the thing. Jake Johnson's character in Spider-Verse, right?
Yes, exactly.
That do that shit.
That's exactly who that is.
Yeah.
I love it.
I
love that guy.
Exactly. So that's a wrap up Spider-Man. Yeah, that's a wrap up Spider-Man 2, right? So, all right. So no surprise, I love the final shot of the first film, and I love this one here even more, right? So yeah, when Danny Elfman's music kicks in, yeah, it still brings the man to his ultimate boy. But in this case, though, it's just so triumphant, and even Spider-Man's swinging feels more triumphant here because
right. So this was in the trailer.
Right? Yes.
This was in the trailer. Yeah,
and I love just how it goes into this wide shot where he's like going into the sunset. I just see these two police choppers like following him, though, like dog. I love that so much, right? Is the final shot that I find is very interesting, and back then it just I thought it was gonna end with the swing in there, but just going back to MJ and just that uncertainty in her face, though, I thought that was so bold, right? Just basically saying, look, this is what I'm gonna do, this is my path, now this is my destiny, but this again, there's a sense of uncertainty. It's like, okay, did I make the right decision? Again, going back to The Graduate, it's like that, right? You know, like you make this decision that could change your life, but is this the best decision, right? And yeah, of course, they butchered it with Part 3 because all the risks that she was waiting on turned out to be Sandman and Venom and Peter being an asshole and doing this dumb dance and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's what all led up to, right? That's what all led up to.
Talking about music real quick. Speaking of 2000ings really hard. How do we feel about the Michael Bublé cover of the Spider-Man theme over the credits?
So this is another big transition moment. I had no idea this song was relevant at all. Compare now to Hero, which was everywhere. Hero was the last. Spider-Man 1 was the last movie to kind of do that, right? Right, until
had no big songs.
No big song. Yeah. And this one neither. Like this one, I have no memory of that song at all. That's a good thing. But we can debate about that because eventually we get goddamn TD making us song for Black Panther, right? So whatever.
Yep.
I was also thinking this is why when Deadpool 2 came out with Ashes by Celine Dion, I laughed so hard because I'm like, this is such a specific joke. Like this is the most specific joke the Deadpool movies have ever made.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing. Yes. I'll wrap with saying this though. There's nothing that can compare in terms of weird musical choices than having R. Kelly sing Gotham City for what was it, Batman Forever?
For Batman Robin. Look, I talked about this before.
Yeah.
I talked about this with Batman Robin. Sorry. How could you talk about this place being a city of justice, a city of love, a city of peace for every one of us, and you have goddamn psychos running around freezing people, dog? What are you trying to sell me, Kelly? What are you trying to sell me? There's a lie. There's a lie.
Well,
there's a lie.
It is R. Kelly.
True.
It is a prophecy for a dark revelation to come.
Yeah. So I'll keep my outro quick and fast, right? So, I mean, what more can be said about Spider-Man 2, right? The real shocking thing about this for me, watching it over, is how it still holds up, though. And it's not just the action sequences or the visual effects, which rightfully deserve its Oscar win, but just the drama, though, you know what I mean? Just the dramatic weight of it all, right? Yes. I know there'll be people who will complain about the pace of it, right? And I'll admit, yes, it is paced a little slower than the last one, right? But I don't mind that. I don't mind those moments of downtime. I don't mind the dramatic moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know, 20 years ago, I've been like, all right, oh gosh, we need to see all this melodramatic stuff with MG. But now, as a mature person, I was like, yeah, I understand all that, right? But I know there will still be people who roll their eyes at the whole Peter and MJ stuff and the Harry stuff and all that kind of stuff, right? But to me, it works, and it was always part of the trilogy from day one, literally, right? So it's one of those take it or leave it kind of situations, right? But yeah, best entry in the Spider-Man trilogy, best Spider-Man movie, period. You heard me first.
Oh, wow.
And one of the best superhero sequels ever made. Number one for me is The Dark Knight, but this one comes, I would say, second place for me, right? And yes, it is one of the best superhero movies ever made. Strong 4.5 out of 5. Happy 20th anniversary. It shockingly holds up though, and I can't wait to see how it holds up 20 years from now, right? Tracy, your final thoughts on Return.
My final thoughts, come thinking about Spider-Man on the whole, there is something that Sam Raimi does, and I actually have a scribble on here. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man does better than most modern superhero shows because the humor and heart isn't forced, and it's a gripe.
Yes,
that's right. MCU. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Always gripe about the MCU in terms of Phase 1 and Phase 2 felt like a good balance of humor and that kind of stuff. Right. And then Phase 3, I will never understand certain things. That anyhow, you get the idea of how they do humor. And Sam was able to pull that balance off quite nicely. There's a line that MJ says at the end, we're coming on to the end, when she says something along the lines of, "Don't you think you should get rescued?" And he responds with, "Thank you, Mary Jane Watson." And I feel like that was the message for the entire film. Like, you can choose, maybe even superheroes need to be rescued once in a while from their own mental scene and all that kind of random. Right. So I genuinely loved it. If I was to give a rating for it, this would honestly get like a 4 out of 5 for me. I mean, first Spider-Man tops it because it had Goblin and it had Chad singing, Hero, which still drives me to emotional drops today. But Spider-Man 2 is really cool. But then, of course, you go into Spider-Man 3 where he's dancing in the street in a black suit. But, we'll talk about that some other time. Well,
that'll be...
maybe out of irony, we will celebrate its anniversary, right? It's
right.
What?
Yeah,
yeah, whatever. CC, your final thoughts on Rating, and then we'll end with Ricardo. So, yeah.
As I said, I will actually decline to rate it simply because I haven't revisited this film in many years, and I feel as if it truly deserves, and this is kind of my thoughts, it truly deserves for me to revisit it fully, I think, because there's a lot about the film, and I think Tracy touched on this, but I think, actually everyone touched on this a little bit, but I think one of the things about this film that's so miraculous is that there's a lot of ways in which because it's one of the big three, right? Like the Raimi Spider-Man films are one of the three big franchises that proved that Marvel movies, but also superhero films, could be really big blockbuster potential in the 2000s. The other ones, of course, being X-Men and Blade. But in many ways, there's ways in which the rest of the superhero landscape hasn't quite kept up with Spider-Man. Like, I love the MCU, but there's a lot of MCU installments that don't quite have the dramatic weight or the action or the ability to go dark or even the courage to kind of have characters, like protagonists, that are like genuinely... Like, I was, again, talking with the same compatriot, Bobby Carmi. We were talking about how he was talking about one of the things he really likes about the movie that got me thinking was he was like, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man can be genuinely unlikable sometimes. Like, he makes frustrating decisions. Right. You don't always agree with him. You find yourself, especially in this film, you go like, no, you're the hero. You can't stand by and eat a hot dog while crime happens. Like, you're supposed to go do something. And like, that is a bold choice. And it's one that I've actually grown to appreciate. I love all the stuff with Doc Ock. Sam Raimi, I love how Sam Raimi, there's a kind of, in like older 50s B movies, there's like the plot line of the mad scientist who tries a experiment and the experiment goes wrong and it turns him into like a monster. And I love how Sam Raimi has used that Sam Raimi comes back to that character motivation like over and over and over again. And I love it every time. the MJ stuff, I think that grated on me in particular when I was younger, but there's a lot of it that I have grown to appreciate, especially looking at it by itself instead of like lumping it in with what happens in 3. So yeah, I think that this is a film that I think this is one of the better. I mean, obviously Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I do think that Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming and the first Raimi Spider-Man film get pretty close, and I think that they're pretty good movies, and I need to sit down and revisit them, not just in the context of having watched more of Sam Raimi's filmography and like all the ways the superhero genre has come since then, but just to like truly reevaluate this film and give it some of the credit it deserves. Also, I remembered It's the Gift. That's the Sam Raimi film that I was trying to remember the name of earlier.
Okay.
Southern Gothic type thing. Highly recommended. But yeah.
All right. And because I was talking so much about thunder and lightning, there's rain falling outside if you guys hear it, right? But yeah, Ricardo, close things off. Final thoughts on Return Spider-Man 2.
For me, this on the top shelf of Spider-Man, and you just put it on the top shelf in general for this material. I put it on the top shelf with Reeve or Donner Superman. It's the same way.
Nice.
It's just too iconic, Dread. Like at this point, 20 years later, it still holds up. You know, just seeing how people couldn't really top it in any workable sense, making it work in that. Just really, really well done. It's really, really smart, really intelligent stuff. And yeah, this should just hold up so well for me after all these years. Yeah, it has its problems and not perfect, blah blah blah. But I put this up really, really high for me. For me, like this is up there with something like Across the Spider-Verse. I put this quite high. I don't love Into the Spider-Verse as much as this. And it's a shame the other Spider-Man movies couldn't really come up with this. Like, okay, Tom Holland is fine, but it don't really work all that well as good to me. And then Andrew Garfield get a bad break because I think the mistake with his films was trying to reboot the franchise. I felt if they just did adult Peter, that would have been a fine couple of movies in my humble opinion, instead of trying to reset everything. And it would have made the world building a little more logical and have it be like a kind of spiritual sequel to this trilogy. However, but this movie just so works so well for me. Just comes together really well, really smart, funny stuff. Again, not perfect, but just really, really well done. Rating, yeah, like a 9 out of 10. Totally holds up after 20 years in my humble opinion. Loved it.